I cherish the memories of a question my grandson asked me the other day when he said, "Grandpa, were you a hero in the war?" Grandpa said no. But I served in a company of heroes.
All right, September 15th, 2023, something really significant happened, and I'm not sure if you're fully aware of it. So it has not been on the news. I haven't heard too many people talking about it, but what just happened on September 15th, 2023 is something that influenced me many, many years ago to decide not only to join the Army, but to be an Army officer. September 15th, 2023, Band of Brothers made it to Netflix. So if you have not seen Band of Brothers yet, Band of Brothers was something that was originally featured on HBO. Absolutely fantastic series. Highly, highly recommend it. And as someone who's actually been in the military now, I can tell you there is a lot of realism to the way they portray these different people. But there really are values that we live by. I talked about this a little bit earlier in episode 3 of Inconic Influence, where we talk about loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. These are the Army values. And we really do live by them. Values are what we believe. Virtues are what we do. And at Kingdom Operatives, we want to help you operate in alignment of what you're called to do. So today on Inconic Influence, I am super jacked up to share with you one of the most influential nonfiction, based on a real person, characters that influenced my life. This guy, his name is Richard Winters. In the beginning of the show, he goes by Lieutenant Winters, and you'll see he eventually gets some promotions that were well earned. And he retired now. This is a real person, okay, who this character is portraying. He retired now, and he's Major Dick Winters. What does it take to be a great leader? You might be a good person. You might be a good man, a good woman. You might be someone who people look at you and they say, "I like you." But what does greatness look like? How do you reach a level where they don't just say, "I like you," but they tell others about you? They tell others, they say, that person was a great leader. Today, I want to talk to you about a simple principle that you can apply and begin to use in your life so that you can get better results and you can build more mission-effective teams. If this is your first time with us, welcome to Inconic Influence. We are the world's first adventure-based leadership podcast. We use a 3-part strategy called the Blue Sky Strategy. All 3 specializations are necessary for you to become an influential, effective, and resilient leader. So we're going to use that strategy today and help you begin to develop what we call your situational awareness. This is all about you being able to see more and before others see. But guess what? I want to add in one other specialization, our first specialization, which is called command presence, which is all about you being a leader that other people want to follow. And I think you're going to see how they actually connect really well together. Major Winters had all 3 specializations, if you ask me. But I want to talk to you today about his situational awareness and his command presence. And you're going to hear a clip right now. I'm going to play it for you real quick. And we're going to talk about this more and unpack the military principles that can help you as a leader today. Let's jump into episode 7 of Inconic Influence.
Men have been through the toughest training the Army has to offer, under the worst possible circumstances. And they volunteered for it.
Christ, Dick, I was just shooting crap through them. It's not like
You know why they volunteered? So when things got really bad, the man in the foxhole next to them would be the best. Not some draftee who's gonna get him killed.
Are you ticked because they like me? Because I'm spending time to get to know my soldiers? I mean, come on. You've been with these guys for what, 2 years? I've been here for 6 days.
You're gambling, bud.
So what? Soldiers do that. I don't deserve a reprimand for it.
What if you'd won?
What?
What if you'd won? Never put yourself in a position where you can take from these men.
Okay, so right here, you're seeing something that honestly, I think we have a major gap in society today. A lot of leaders position themselves to where they're having fun. They're doing it for them. They're doing what they feel is right, not what they know is right. Sometimes what you think is okay, if you zoom out and you gain situational awareness, you can realize, actually, this is not a good thing for my organization. So right here, you're seeing what Winters is talking about is he's saying, hey, look, like, what if you win? What if you actually take something from your soldiers? You gamble with them and you win and you take something from your employee. Have you ever thought about that as a leader, that you are positioned in a position of greater influence? And they might look at you and say, hey, my boss is saying I got to go out and go drinking, go do this, but it's going to cost me money, but I don't have that money and it's putting pressure on me. And I guess I'm going to go anyways, right? Like, this is the stuff that happens inside the minds of our team members, and we got to be aware of it. And what Winters showed me here is what it looks like to be the proper model, right? Remember, we must model before we measure results. And he's saying, look, even if it means you have to separate yourself just a little bit from your group while they go do these things, never take something from them. And that's situational awareness. That's seeing more and before others see. Buck is the guy who was in here, this young lieutenant who wanted to play games and gamble. But Winters is saying, no, that's actually taking from them if you win. It's okay if you lose, but what if you win? When I heard that, you have to hit pause and just stop for a second and think of, man, that is the responsibility of a leader. That's why sometimes people say it's lonely at the top, because you have to be aware of these type of things. You can't take from them. As an Army officer, you learn quickly that officers really should eat last. Simon Sinek talks about this in some of his talks. And even in his book, Leaders Eat Last, that our soldiers should go first in line, we should be in the back, and we have to probably eat faster than them in order to get done at the same time as them so we can move on to the next task, the next mission, right? That is what it's all about. It's situational awareness. It's recognizing you go last. You're the leader, you eat last. But I'm going to give you some other pieces here. This is something that I remember seeing demonstrated for me as a young officer as well, which was leaders should also eat with their team most of the time. Okay, now every once in a while I get it, but you got to know that the food sucks. You got to know that it's overpriced. At military police school, because I started as a military police officer before becoming an aviator, I remember we had this really amazing gear, right? Like, you could go buy your own rucksacks and all that stuff. And someone started to emphasize to us, hey, you can buy all this nice stuff, but understand your soldiers don't have that. So sure, go ahead, get the good stuff, but realize that that's not what they're wearing. And, eventually you start to develop your own philosophy. Are you the person who should wear the crappy rucksack instead of the nice, higher quality one that maybe you went and purchased because you have the money for it? And now you're not hurting as much as them, but you don't know what it's like to be them. You lose your relevance to them. You give a soldier 80 pounds of equipment to carry around and you only have 20. Is that fair? I'm not saying you have to be the workhorse, but there's something to understanding how everything we do has a cause and effect. And in this example, Winters is specifically showing all of us, hey, be aware of what you might take from your people if you put yourself in that position. Now, let me just talk about this man. Richard Winters is the reason I decided to become an officer. Isn't that wild? I watched Band of Brothers and I saw this good officer set up the right example for his people. And I saw how his people took care of him when things went wrong. And I thought, man, I want to be in a position that can do that one day. I don't know if you ever thought about this, but if you can see something in someone, chances are you have that characteristic as well. So if you see someone and you just notice that this person is so generous, it's possible that generosity is so important to you and it's deep within, and you can be the exact same way in your own unique expression of that, right? These are some things to really watch for as leaders. So what I've been talking to you today about is the principle of know your team. Knowing your team is part of situational awareness. Know your team. Know where you're positioned within that team. Know how you can guide others. I mean, also, let's think of this for a second. Winters didn't need to say anything to Buck, but he did anyways. Why? Because leadership starts as an example. And he's pointing out, he's guiding, he's having the harder conversation, saying, hey, I want you to expand your awareness of the situation. You know, my soldiers, 90 plus soldiers, they had families. They have families that they've come from. They have families that they've created. They have pay that needs to come in. They need food. You know, sometimes you think of just the mission and you forget about the people. The way we say this in the military is mission first, people always. Mission first, people always. That means sometimes a person might need to give their life, they might need to sacrifice for a mission because that mission matters that much. But we are always thinking of our people. It's very unfortunate to me that we don't see this enough. And I just really wish that you and we could put a flag in the ground, put a banner in the ground and say, man, this is what we stand for. We want people to know that there is power in their presence and that they are positioned for purpose. And to zoom out and develop the situational awareness necessary to know your team. There's so many parts to knowing your team. Knowing their skills, their abilities, their responsibilities, knowing why they are where they're at right now, knowing what experience gaps they might have, you know, knowing how to equip them better. And we can talk about all of this, but I wanted to start you off with this one simple principle. Know your team and know what you can take from them if you are not fully aware of your position around them. There is so much more I can say about this man, and you just got to watch the series Band of Brothers. So I'm hoping today that I shared with you something that might broaden your perspective, but also I'm hoping that you are saying, man, I got to go watch this series because there are so many leadership lessons in here. You're going to learn about leaders who had the rank, but did not have the command presence. They did not have the influence. You're going to learn about leaders who did not prepare their people for the mission that was coming up, right? They didn't develop their mission readiness. And you're going to see why that is so important today. Whether you are in the military or not, we all need to have more command presence, situational awareness, and mission readiness. And that is the blue sky strategy. That's what I've been sharing with you here. The KO code word letter of the day is echo. Echo. All right, write down echo. Go back, listen to the other episodes if you're brand new here. So you get the full KO code word that will unlock rare training, exclusive training just for people like you who actually do the work and stay consistent in this process here at Inconic Influence. All right, so echo is the one you're going to write down today. You're almost there. You almost got a full word that's going to unlock this training if you've been sticking with us. And if you have, thank you so much. Please make sure you subscribe and you share this with someone else. And until next time, continue mission.